27 proposals altogether. And so they listened to 3 minutes of talk from each, and then, read a document that we sent them. And then they decide, and I don't know how they're going to cut it down. I have no idea if they're even interested in us. But Mitch Roth approached us before the election was even over with and asked us, he said, I really like to have a way that tourists can come down here and see the fissure that's acceptable to you guys. So he actually kicked it off and said, let's talk about it. But there is no board approval of this. We just asked them, are you interested in us? Should we mount a detailed proposal? And so it's like a pre-proposal kind of thing. And
I see.
At the request of Mitch Roth, because he really wants it, but it might be that the commission doesn't think it's very important at all. Or,
I see. I appreciate the clarity on that. It's just that when I saw the old business with the LCA application to the county, which I assume is for funds, it just really
there's no money
what the purpose of this was.
Yeah. Well, I probably shouldn't have used the word application. It was like a question. Are you interested in us? Because they don't want to waste time on something that they're not going to want to follow through with. So they're just winnowing people out at this stage. And it would be up to us if we wanted to put in a proposal, but they want to tell us how much money they have, and maybe what they have isn't enough money to build a parking area, but and it kind of depends on how attractive the other things are. And it does not commit us in any way, but they made it very clear that they didn't want to talk about money for acquisition. And our idea was that all of the money we're asking for is for them to build a property outside of Leilani Estates. And so they wouldn't be interested in any of the property inside. We're just looking in. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much. Yeah. And if I were you, I would certainly ask the paper to print a retraction so that it's not just a phone call, but is available to the public. Thank you.
One of the problems is that the reporter who wrote it was from Kona, and she wrote it for the Star Advertiser over in Kona, and we haven't been able to get a hold of her. But so they have to be involved too to get a retraction. But the guy who was the editor of the paper here in the Helos Tribune Herald, he was great. He said, I feel really bad about this. I'm sorry, basically what he said. But they'd have to get the reporter on board to retract it. So we're working on that.
Oh, Alice,
thank you very much.
That person who wrote that article was from West Hawaii. That's where she's from, from West Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, David. Alice, thank you. Anyone else would like to have a question, make a comment? Oh, Rod, go ahead. Is that you? You were saying you want to speak?
Yes, that's Rod.
Okay, I know. Okay, go ahead.
I see you have down it. We're going to do a survey. This is going to be a mail survey. It's going to cost the community money. If we have money for a survey, I'm wondering why we didn't have money to do a newsletter. And I know you'll talk about the survey in a few minutes, and you'll address that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Rod. Next person. Next person wants to raise their hand. But I say raise your hand, I'm talking electronically raising your hand. So that's how I see you. Okay, so it looks like we're okay. Phil, hey, Phil, you're muted. Now you're no video.
I don't see him.
Phil? Yeah.
I was kidding. I'm sorry. I couldn't figure out how to unmute this thing. So,
okay.
Thank you.
You're kidding meeting, that,
Meaning I was,
oh, okay, I got it. All right, so it looks like,
my version of electronics.
okay, very good. Excellent. All right, good to see you all. All right, so let's move on. The agenda, reports. I don't have a report, but I will be talking later about the members meeting and the protocol for that. So I want to move that on to Alice.
Okay, usually I let you know what kind of messages are coming in at admin@leilaniestates.org. And this month, it's mainly been a concern over car bodies. There's been a blossoming of car bodies all over Leilani Estates starting about 3 weeks ago, maybe a little sooner than that. And they seem to be coming out of nowhere. And everybody was complaining about them. And as we followed up and looked at the car bodies, they were coming from the 3 spots in Leilani where people have chop shops. That is places where they're taking parts off of cars and selling them. And when there's no sellable parts left, then they dump them and go get another one. So this is a bad problem that we've been dealing with for a long time. And the police got most of them out of here in a surprisingly fast manner, but I'm sure they're this is at the county's expense. So to be encouraging these people to think that we're going to help them with their garbage is tough. So we're the problem is the 3 places, and they also are the 3 places that are have very trash heap looks that we're working with the CCNRs for making them clean their properties up. But at least lately, they've been cleaning up their properties by dumping cars. And we've also had quite a few messages worrying about dangerous trees. So especially with all this rain and wind and storminess, that's when trees tend to come over. So lots of people we need to make sure we've got a plan in the future for getting rid of the dangerous trees. And that's it for what's come in on the
Okay, so Alice, if I can make a suggestion,
yeah.
Your piece on the public access, which you started to speak to, let me just talk. Those 3 pieces go in a row. They're all about the lava covered areas. So let me just first talk about the members meeting. And,
Okay.
And
All
then
right.
we'll move on. So I just wanted to tell you, just give you some background or information on the protocol for the members meeting, which is scheduled for Saturday, March 20th. And it appears, and I say it appears for a reason, that we're going to have an actual members meeting, because as long as I've been here, which is only for me going on 8 years, many people have been here longer, I don't remember a members meeting where members actually voted at the meeting and discussed corporate business, as it says in the bylaws. So that, in my experience, has not happened, but it appears is going to happen or might happen on the 20th. So I just want to, since we don't really have any context for this, I just really want to go over so people's expectations are in line with the bylaws and we're all on the same page, so people don't come to this meeting on 20th expecting something to happen. In fact, they legally cannot happen. So actually, I'm going to do a lot of reading from the bylaws, so I don't get anything wrong. And what I read tonight will be actually sent out in a MailChimp tomorrow to the rest of the community, so everyone knows. So from Article 3, Section 1 of the bylaws, it says, the annual meeting of the members of the corporation shall be on the 3rd Saturday of March of each year. At the annual meeting, the president, treasurer, and standing committee chairman shall make their annual reports to the members. The members shall elect the members of the board of directors, may transact any general business which may be brought before the meeting, and may take any corporate action. So we're all used to the part about members voting, and the voting will be counted and it will be announced at the May 20th meeting after these reports are given. Okay, so let me give you some information about quorum for an actual members meeting to take place. For any general business, for any general business, it's not correct English, I'm just quoting, not reading here, maybe transaction and any corporate action may be taken. Members having 10% or more of all the members of the corporation present in person or by proxy shall constitute a quorum. So that means there needs to be 106, I think that's the exact right number, 106 members, either by proxy or by being present at the meeting, for a quorum to take place for a members meeting where members actually do corporate business. So that's the first thing we need to make sure is apparent on that meeting. Now, this is going to be a Zoom meeting, and please all bear with us because we've never done this before, and plus we've never done a members meeting on Zoom. So we're going to need to, iron out some of these wrinkles. But we just want everyone to know we need to have 206 members, either by a proxy or present at the meeting, for there to be a quorum, for there to be an actual members meeting where votes happen. And the concurring vote of the members holding a majority of the votes of the members constituting a quorum shall be valid and binding upon the corporation, except as otherwise provided by law or by these bylaws or by the charter of the corporation. And so that's in Article 3, Section 5 of the bylaws. Voting. Each member shall be entitled to 1 vote per lot. Any member who is in default in the payment of any lot assessment shall not be a member in good standing. And while he may attend the meetings, he shall not be entitled to vote, provided, however, that each member in default shall be so notified in writing at the time and in the manner noticed of the meetings are given pursuant to Article 3, Section 3 hereof, and provide further that if prior to the commencement of the meeting, the member shall fully pay his delinquency, or at least 7 days prior to such meeting, in writing request a hearing by the Board of Directors, which board shall promptly act upon his request and determine his eligibility to vote, and be determined by the board to be so eligible to vote. Such member shall then be considered a member in good standing and be fully entitled to vote at the meeting. So everyone received their assessments, and if you had any back assessments due, that signals that you're not in good standing. So you can be in good standing and not have paid 2021 assessments, but if you have not paid prior assessments, you are not in good standing, and you have up until the date of that meeting to get that money to us to be in good standing. Okay. Actions that cannot be taken at this meeting because prior notification is required. So there are 3 things that members' meetings cannot do. They can make motions for these issues. They cannot vote on them because they need prior notification. They are: 1, removal of a director. That's Article 4, Section 10. Change in the bylaws. That's Article 16, Section 1. And annulment of a prior assessment, Article 15, Section 4. So those are things that members cannot vote on. You can make a motion about those particular items. You cannot vote on them at a members meeting. Everything else policy issues can be voted on at a members meeting. Okay. Are there any questions people have about what I just discussed?
Robert,
I'll take questions. All right, first I have David. Go ahead, David.
You said nothing could be voted on without advance notice. What is the board doing?
No, I said there were only things that needed advance notice were those 3 items I just mentioned. Everything else is you can vote on.
So the one was the removal of a board member. What were
the removal of board member, change in the bylaws, or annulment of a prior assessment.
I see. So, and what is the board doing to allow us to make advance notice of that?
So then that would be the role of the members meeting, where you can make, and then the subsequent board that comes into fruition on the 20th can handle that issue. So
we can't make a notice in advance of the meeting so that a
No,
vote
because no, you
the
cannot make
meeting
it.
by the
No,
members.
no, it has to be proper, and furthermore, it's a 30-day notice.
A little short time for that now.
Well, right, but I mean, there's no surprises. These are all printed in the bylaws. Everything I'm reading
Understand.
is printed in the bylaws.
Understand. I've not gone through them in detail.
Okay.
My fault.
Okay.
Robert,
Next,
before you go on.
yeah, Alice, go ahead.
I think you said 106 members and then 206. It's
No, I meant 206 members.
206, yeah, just to
206.
make sure that's clear,
Right,
yeah.
206. I misspoke. It's 206. Okay, I think Rod was next. Rod?
Okay, you got me?
Yes.
I want to clarify that if a member has 8 properties, they still have 8 votes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. If that person is in good standing on all 8 properties.
Okay, I also want to clarify, the board last year had a per se amnesty period where people could vote if they had not paid their dues. That has never been on amnestied.
No,
You had a point where people were paying partial dues and not the full dues due to the 82% increase. And they were told they could vote.
I am not familiar with that. I'll check into that, Rod. I just don't know.
Ask Andy, he's the one who said it.
Okay, well, I'll check into that and I'll get back to you about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Robert, I think that if someone took advantage of the dues assist, they were in good
Yeah.
standing.
Yes, exactly, right.
That's
We
what
had
the
a
dues
dues assist
assist.
program, right? We had a dues
So there
assist.
wouldn't be any penalty for asking.
No,
for-
exactly, of
I'm not
course
sure
not.
if that's the question he's asking.
Oh, but Rod sort of implied that there was an amnesty and I wasn't aware of any amnesty. But I was aware that there was a dues assist program and that did not. So is that what you're referring to, Rod?
I may have misunderstood. I'll go back and start looking for it myself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Jim, you're up.
Thank you. My question has to do with those 3 conditions you spelled out: removal of a director, change to the bylaws, and annulment of a prior assessment.
Yes.
If in fact the membership at the meeting cannot vote on those items, any one of them,
Right.
how is that handled? And let me kind of pick them apart. For example, annulment of a prior assessment. If someone makes a motion that says, we don't like the $220, is the board at the new board coming in at the next or any subsequent board meeting entitled to rescind or annul the assessment? That's first question.
Okay.
And
So
you're shaking your head like
I'm
yes.
shaking my head because I don't know the answer to that question. So I just don't have an answer. And I'll get an answer for you.
All right. Number 2.
Robert, could I say something about that?
Yes.
The bylaws state that in order to address that question, you need to have a special meeting, for which you need 30 days notice.
Right.
And the meeting is called specifically for that question.
Right.
So the membership at any time can call a special meeting by going through the process of getting a petition of
Right.
200 people. And so it doesn't have to be at the members meeting. And had a group of people submitted that request 30 days ago, I don't think that would qualify. We'll have to look it up, but it seems to me that the meeting has to be specifically for one specific.
Yes,
at
that's
a
true.
time.
As-
So,
right.
yeah,
Right.
right. And
So
that's
I'm a
why
little bit
this doesn't-
confused because last year we asked for a special meeting. We, the membership people who attended one of these board sessions, and that was shut down. I mean, lickety split. No, there will be no special meeting. That was the end of discussion. So how, in fact, does the membership, if they're disenchanted for whatever reason with anything, any action or activity being undertaken by the board, what is their vehicle for asking for a special meeting? Because if the board especially a single member of the board can shoot that down, then there could never be a special meeting.
Well, so if the members collected a petition calling for a special meeting and had 206 signatures, then a special meeting would be held.
On any one or all three of those.
Wait,
items.
no, on one of those things. Each meeting has to focus on one of those three. Each meeting has to have a separate agenda.
So we could theoretically have three separate special meetings.
Yes.
Right.
But
that's right.
only if and when during the course of normal business, someone provides affidavits or whatever of 200 and some odd members saying we want a special meeting for this a particular purpose.
Yes.
Mhm.
And the
Yes.
board can't deny that
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. That's my
with the 30
understanding.
days notice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
It's
And
written
there's
out
no
pretty.
reason.
It's all, anything we're saying is right in our bylaws.
Okay.
It's right
Okay,
there.
and there's no particular reason, by the way, in my opinion, to think that we couldn't have three special meetings on the same day.
Right, as long as you gave 1 month, 30 days notice for each of these meetings. Right.
And we met that minimum of the 200 or whatever
Yes.
membership.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
I think the purpose for that is to make sure that a large number of people feel the same way, and like one person can't call the meeting because they're unhappy with something.
Right.
That's at least that's how I read it in the bylaws. They just want to make sure it's a widely held, issue for.
So it seems to me that the annual members meeting is essentially simply for the purpose of information sharing from the existing board and the election of a new board.
Well, that's what it has been traditionally. But again, there are other policy issues you can't vote on.
For example,
Well, anything, policy issues about, say, you want to prohibit painting on the streets, or you want to, any kind of policy that we
and
voted on.
a single member can make that motion,
Yes,
and the membership then, 2/3 of the people present can vote yay or nay on those.
well, not
items. For
2/3, it only
example,
takes a simple majority.
Okay, simple majority. So for example, if I said I want to eliminate the speed humps policy, I don't like it, just get rid of it.
Yes, you could do that.
If 50% of the people present on March 20th say, yes, let's eliminate it, then so it's not the board, it's the members' decision.
Yes,
50% of the people present at the meeting.
yes, 50%
Gotcha.
plus one. Right. Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up, Jim. It helps clarify it, I think, for everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, this is why I wanted to have this conversation now, so we're all on the same, page come the 20th. I see Anne has her hand raised, so Anne, unmute yourself.
Sure, thank you. This is in regards to coming current on dues, which means you've paid your 2020 Homeowners Association dues. What is the deadline for paying that in order to qualify to vote both at the meeting and to vote for the directors?
That's a great question. So, if someone included a check with their ballot, we're going to assume the check is good and they can vote.
Okay.
And,
So-
and just to make it more clear, this is based on last year's
Yes,
dues.
2020.
2020, not 2021. Yeah.
Great. So we, the members that will be tallying the ballots will be at the community center on Saturday, taking directors' ballots till what we've been asked to do is till 1:45. Will we also be responsible for taking past due payments?
Only you will, meaning if they brought that to you, yes. So then you could cross them off. You cross them off that they're not on good standing list, whatever that list is called, that they're no longer in arrears. So yes.
Okay, and it's just the handling of money due to LCA through what we're trying to keep the money separate and goes immediately to Kim and not have to deal with that.
Right, right.
But
Right.
it's fine up to 1:45 on Saturday, March 20th.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann. And first of all, everyone should give Ann and the other people working with Ann a big round of support and applause, because they're going to be counting the ballots starting on Wednesday, and all the proxies. And it's an inordinate task, and it's great community spirit. So I think it's Ann and it's Kaanohi, and it's who's it? And who are the other people working with you?
Cindy Heldon,
Pete
Pete
Wilson?
Wilson, Kaunui, Jeremiah, and myself.
Right, very good. So thank you all.
And Kim will be helping.
Right,
And
and Kim.
this is Phil Denny, and thanks to Lincoln Ashita as well. It's coming together and should go very smoothly.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you all. Thank you, Phil. Okay, next person, Heather. Go ahead.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask a couple questions. I know my auntie has not been able to get notice about dues payments. I think one of her lots got covered. And so have you guys made it clear whether people can vote if they have a lot that has been covered? And then
Right, so as long as she's current up until the 2018 flow, then she's not responsible for any payments after 2018.
But if they're not responsible for any of those payments, can they still vote?
Yes.
After 2000, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And
It
so
says as long as she's current through, through, I guess 2017 would be fine.
Okay. And it just sounds like some folks have not been contacted, like there's just been posts on Facebook. So have
Well, okay, so
out?
people, if people have not received their assessment, they should be contacting the office and give Kim their correct mailing address. I mean, we're only as good as the mailing addresses are on record. So if the mailing address is incorrect, these folks need to call Kim in the office and give them the right address, and she'll send out the assessment. And also the ballots, because then they probably haven't received their ballots either.
Right. I think that's, as someone who just became a part of the association, I mean, when I first moved here, I submitted an email to the board. I mean, Alice is my neighbor, and I think my email or my mailing list was never put on, even though I contacted the association. And so.
So you didn't get a ballot either then?
Last year I did not.
Oh.
And so
this is Phil Denny. I wanted to point out that the ballot and all the materials have been posted on Nextdoor. So anybody that didn't get one can download it from there and vote.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring to attention that maybe there just needs to be an improvement in the process in collecting address and contact information, especially for new people that are moving to the neighborhood, because I obviously had poor experience with that until I reached out recently.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was
Heather, it was the responsibility of the closing agent to send us your name and address, and that's how you got onto the membership list from the real estate office that did, your transaction for your purchase of your house.
Yeah, and so I'm sure you guys must have had it, because as part of my closing cost, I paid a fee to come in.
$200, yeah.
Right, so I don't know why my contact info did not come along with that.
That's the only way to get in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, when I paid my fees last year, I didn't get a receipt. Do you guys send receipts out for the folks that actually pay dues? Because I think that would be
your check would be your receipt, I assume.
I paid online. So.
Well, then it would be did you use a credit card?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so then your credit card would be your receipt.
So my statement for my credit card has to be my receipt.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I
don't believe. Well, Andy's not on. He's not here tonight. But I've never received a receipt for payment.
Maybe that would be a good way to just keep track of things moving forward.
Right.
It seems a little weird to give money and not have a receipt for what you've paid for. Just a recommendation.
If you ask for one, they'll give you one. If you ask him for a receipt, she would give you one.
If you go in person.
You could
Oh,
call.
cool.
You could call
Okay.
or email. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
I'm with you. I always like to have receipts.
Okay, all right, Jim, go ahead.
I just want to clarify, Robert, you just said,
Hold on, wait a second, what happened? Jim, hold on, go ahead, Jim.
okay, I'm unmuted, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. You just said that people who were current through 2017, but just a point of clarification, if the assessments, which means dues in this case, were actually mailed out in 2018, either February or March, similar timeframe to what we have today, our payments are due this year on March 31st. Beyond that, we become delinquent. Thus, the eruption that occurred on May 3rd, which is burned on all of our brains, anybody who had not paid by May 3rd would technically be delinquent for the 2018 dues.
Right, so you just corrected me, and I'm not the treasurer, and I'm just doing my best here right now. So you're probably correct. So I'm just talking now about lava covered lots.
Yes, and I was just seeking clarification. And I
Right,
think
right.
it would be they're delinquent if they hadn't paid by May 3rd.
Right,
Or by
right,
now.
right.
Thank
But they
you.
can obviously rectify that.
Yep.
Right, okay. Thank you for clarifying that, Jim. I appreciate that. Anne, you want to speak again?
Sure, thanks. It was just brought up that the ballot and the election material was put on Facebook and Nextdoor. Is that, I mean, I want to make sure that that is all right. We're taking our ballot that was mailed out to individual members. We've also at the office been, if anyone wants a duplicate, they actually sign for a duplicate ballot. And so now we've put it out on social media. And so I just want a clarification that that is all right. It makes more verification for us. And if there are duplicates that are not consistent, it may invalidate a ballot. So I'm just asking for clarification on that.
Phil?
Robert, I think that many people, as has been pointed out, have not received their ballot or their assessment notice. I think this is a way to give people a chance to vote, and I would encourage it. There's nothing on the ballot that's secret, and I think really that the problem of duplicate ballots, well, it is real, I think is going to be very, very minimal. So in my opinion, I think that people ought to be encouraged to vote, even if they have to print out ballots to do so.
And I assume, Phil, if someone, and I don't expect this to happen, but if someone did vote twice, then both ballots would be eliminated, I believe.
I would argue that that's right. Yes.
Right.
Robert, according to the people who've counted ballots in the past, they kept a running list of who had voted so they could make sure no one voted twice.
Right.
So
Yes.
that was part of the counting process in the previous years.
Yes.
So that would eliminate that problem.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions before we go on? I think we're good. Oh, Rod, go ahead, Rod.
Yes, if I heard you correct, you're saying Pete Wilson's going to be counting the ballots?
He'll be one of the tellers, yes.
Okay. I object to that because I think the man is not
Oh,
unbiased. I think he has a favor.
excuse me, Rod, this is totally inappropriate. If you do speak to Phil Denny about that, I don't want a public conversation about a person like this here. Okay?
I'm just saying I have
I hear
concern
you,
over
I hear you,
somebody
Rod.
that is going to
Please
be put in a
talk.
position of trust that
Okay, excuse
nobody
me.
trusts.
Excuse me. I said, please have an offline conversation with Phil Denny, who's organizing the election. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on. Alice, the next three items are all yours, or four items. Three
Okay.
items are yours. Go ahead.
Oh, I can't do that many in a row.
Oh, they're all related.
Hold on to it.
This is. Let me just say, before Alice speaks, I wanted to say briefly about the Herculean work that Alice Lindell has done. She doesn't even live near the lava covered areas. So it's not like a personal issue in terms of her space. This for me is community spirit at its best. She comes from a background of preservation and protecting wilderness. Am I correct about that, Alice?
Wildlife habitat.
Wildlife habitats.
And, no wildlife in the lava.
Right, in Utah. But anyhow, her community's deal really shows how she's take the bull by the horn. And this has been, ever since I've been on the board after 2018, this has been an issue. What is going to happen with the lava covered areas and the possible dangers, and so I just want to just salute her and for the work, time and energy she has put forth on this. She really needs to be commended by the community. Alice?
Robert is too kind. I'm actually quite a selfish person. I thought that I would just kind of give a little roundup on Secret Committee because there won't be any more. This is the last meeting of the year where the committees get to talk. So
Alice, you could talk on March 20th. What's Seeker?
No, only the treasurer and the
and it says the.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. If you read the
okay.
bylaws and standing committees chairman, they're a little bit sexist there.
All right.
But so you can wait to get that report on March 20th.
Well, the report isn't very good for crime in Leilani because I can remember times when in neighborhood watch meetings, month after month would go by and there wouldn't be a single crime in Leilani. And we were held up as, whoa, do those people ever have it fixed? But crime is up in Puna in general, of course. And we are, I have been talking to other people in Leilani, especially in South Malama. There's a group down there keeping track of criminal activities. And we've put together kind of a picture of what's happening here and why and where these criminals are coming from and who is supporting them. And there are, we're not in agreement of how many places there are, but there's somewhere between 3 and 6 places where people are coming to stay, moving in and staying and are still breaking in and robbing things from people. And these are the same places that have the big junkyards and also the same, sorry, something just broke. The same places where all the car bodies are accumulating. And lots of people are putting their heads together to try to control that activity. But basically it's driven by drugs. That is, these people want to be able to buy drugs and they bring in old cars and they know what things can sell on those old cars. They get them off and then they pitch the old cars onto the streets and the vacant lots of Leilani. And they do it at night where they can't be seen. But just lately they've stepped it up, the dumping up, and they have been seen driving old derelict vehicles and pulling homemade trailers with these junkers on them. And I managed to get a photograph of one going by my house because a seeker person said, he's coming your way, get your camera out. And I got a really great picture. And I think you can all kind of have a mental image. I put it on my screen share, but I don't think I'll bring it up right now. And if you see these people dragging cars around Leilani, try to get a picture, try to get a license plate. Most of the vehicles don't have license plates because we can connect those with these particular sites, and then the police will pay attention to us. And I should say that the person on Miley Street, at least 5 days ago, was in jail, and this is the first time he's been not around, and it is quiet as a church Sunday in Nebraska here because he's gone. And So we really need this kind of evidence to help get rid of these people. So you see dragging cars, it's a felony to drag more than 8 cars, and most of them have dragged scores of these. Anyway, so that's my thing about car hauling. We've had a very unusual incident of robbery in Leilani, and you probably all read about it in the news. A person came up and pepper sprayed the face of the resident living on Miley Street. And while he was trying to recover from getting this stuff in his face, a group of people came in and robbed him of a lot of large articles that they could then sell. But that person was arrested, and there was an actual trial, which was yesterday, and I was amazed at how quick that happened. So I will be learning what that person is suffering in terms of penalties for doing basically a robbery with a person in the house. Very unusual. And there was also a break-in at Malama Street residence for a person selling a home. The right after the home closed and the new members were, or the new owners were being invited in, the day before they came, someone broke in and stole everything loose that they could find. It was, it's very likely that these people are watching the real estate websites to see homes for sale, assuming that they're empty. So this is something to watch out for if you have a neighbor selling a house, or if you yourself are selling a house. You need to have extra vigilance around that time. And there were 7 every month. I get one of these police reports from the Pune Police, and the 7 incidents in Leilani were 2 assaults, one on Miley Street, which I just told you about, one on Kumakahi Street, and there were 2 burglaries of unattended houses, one on Miley Street and the one I just told you about on Malama, one car theft on Kupono, and then the robbery on Miley Street. So that's 7 incidents. And I don't know if that's the most we've ever had here, but it's certainly high. Let's see. So that's my entire report. That's kind of my roundup for the seeker report. And
Okay.
we have,
Alice?
we're buying more cameras. We're buying 8 more camera, survey cameras, anyway, to put up and to loan out to people who have, who are watching somebody else's house, or if you think something's going on in your neighborhood. So we're going to have 8, we'll have 12 cameras altogether.
Okay.
The end of my report.
Alice, you going on to your next topic? Because before you do that, I want to give Jay has his hand up. So I want to give Jay some time. Jay, you have a question?
Yeah, I would suggest, and I don't understand why it doesn't happen, that we utilize the Leilani Estates webpage for posting of stuff rather than social media. I don't know why, if you can go to Facebook or neighborhood watch, or not neighborhood, next door, why it's so hard not to go to leilaniestates.org and shall we say, keep it all in the family. That's just all I had to say.
Okay. Are you referring in terms of that, in terms of the ballot? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. All right. So Phil, maybe you want to do that if you wanted to post the ballot on the website.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, Alice, why don't you proceed?
Okay, I just noticed a note on the end of my list here that I didn't get. There was a big drug raid in a drug house in Leilani 1. You guys all know where the great big huge water puddle is up there. It's just as you turn into Leilani. There's a house behind there, and there was a drug raid there. So the people are coming out here and taking a look at drugs. I'm just afraid there's a lot more spots that they're not getting. My next subject is that, let's see here. It's called a, let's see, PONC. PONC is the commission that we were speaking about with David Dye at the beginning of the meeting. And it stands for Public Access, Open Space, and Natural Resources Preservation Commission. They get 2% of all of the tax money collected on the Big Island. I think this is a Big Island project. I'm not sure if it's statewide. And then they use that money to protect places that are special. That is, places that they wouldn't want to lose because, I don't know, somebody put a junkyard or a Dairy Queen or something there when it had other values. And so as I explained, if you were here at the beginning, they try to be real flexible about the kinds of places that they will support. And they split up the money between acquisitions of lands. And so lots of times they're just buying a ranch or something like that, and then, you know, trying to convert it into bird habitat. Or they might be, in our case, we were talking more about not purchase of property, but management of a viewing site, and also possibly a trail. And the reason for the trail is that there's a great interest in having kids groups and tour companies. And if we had a managed trail that was well away from the communities, it would take a building of this trail probably, because it'd be, but we haven't identified where or anything like that. The main focus is help the county by providing a place where they can point tourists to come, which would help the Pahoa businesses if they can find, you know, these places and more. And then thirdly, to make sure that there's no more driving or parking on the private roads in Luana, Makame, Ho'okupu, Kaupili, and Nohea Street. And so I think they got a pretty clear explanation of what we wanted. And as I said in the previous, in my previous discussion on this, Mayor Mitch Roth is very interested in this. He wants to, he has this vision that he'd like tourists to spend a few days over here and not just stay in Kona and make a quick run to Volcanoes Park one day, but instead stay here and help our Eastern Hawaii economy. That's how he looks at it. Anyway, we followed through. We called our announcement that we gave to them, the Fissure 8 Ahu Aila Ao, and I only learned how to pronounce that name a couple days ago, because officially the Fissure 8 is named Ahu Aila Ao. Its Hawaiian name, which complements apparently the throne or the mound of a location of a deity who is like Pele, only masculine in his nature. And I shouldn't say more than that, because I'm sure I'm not well versed in explaining all that. Anyway, so we will find out after. We're allowed a 3-minute presentation, and as I said before, no mention of property purchase was brought in, and we're kind of hoping that that the other people who gave the other 26 statements about what they would like, that they're looking mostly for purchase of land, and then you know, ours will look good because we're asking more for management money. Anyway, there's the suggestion of a trail and possibly a boardwalk on top of the lava, but all of those things have not been explored, and pretty important to have a the future boards will have a committee to deal with all the issues that come up, because this is actually a pretty big job and quite a lot of detail involved. They have asked us if they can come out and make a field trip to see the place that we're talking about. So I guess if they ask for that, that'll mean we made it through the next step. Anybody have any questions about it? I'm I'm still learning about this PONC. We only found out about it at the meeting on January 29th. So ours wasn't really a very well fleshed out statement to them.
Okay, so Mark raised his hand. Mark?
Mhm.
Mark, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I'd like to speak up on the naming of Fisher 8.
Yes, good.
I believe they gave that name special. And so they're trying to buy out all those properties on Ilao. And I think it's sacred ground right now. If we can buy out all those properties and contain that mountain, yeah, we can keep it as an educational place
Mhm.
and just
Mhm. Well,
put a private property around that area.
right.
So we don't have outsiders coming in, because this is going to be like conservation land area.
Well, that's the focus of this group. They want to preserve, you know, their idea of preserving things is pretty much along the lines of what we're talking about here. And also the county is already contemplating buyouts with the Kilauea recovery plan. And it's just up to them to decide if they want to work together with this commission on that. That's a possibility.
I think we should look at that.
Yeah.
Just to keep it, you know, within Leilani and probably even the federal. Yeah. And as things go along, we can probably work something out with the federal.
Yeah.
Just to keep outsiders from coming.
Yeah. If we could have a control, one of our statements that we made was that we would like to have the leadership of these of any group tours be done by professional geologists or trained people, and that they could cater to school groups, say, and students. And because something like that is, you know, when you get a little kid, you know, to see something in a different way for the first time, you can make a real impression on them. So it's very valuable for that. Yeah.
But we don't want everybody to be walking all over.
No, and that would be the purview of the committee to make the rules about how many people could come in.
Well, I'm hoping the future board will look into this, and also the committee too.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we'll see as it develops, you know, and of course there needs to be community support. So I know the people who live around the lava are very anxious to have, you know, their peace and tranquility back, and it's a major focus of our suggestion to the PONC committee.
I really agree on that.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for all what you do.
Will you put you on the committee?
Mark, did you hear Alice? She wants you to serve on the, good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else would like to speak on this part of the agenda? Okay, Alice, you want to move on?
Let's see. Am I really doing everything here? Let's see.
Yes, you're doing everything. It should say Alice show.
Oh, right, because we plucked that other thing out. In the last meeting in February 11th, the board passed a motion to take action on putting up new safety measures because of the opening of the road in Luana Street, because of two things, really. First of all is the liability for an open road that has a certain number of dangerous aspects to the interior, and we are liable as a community if people go in there are injured. So that's one thing. But another thing is that an open road invites in dirt bikes and four-wheelers and people who are going in there just for fun, and they're carving up the place and making a really big mess out of the some of the most beautiful areas of the Fissure 8 system. and we want to discourage them. We don't want it to look like an open door. So here's what we, and just to refresh your memory, we said we were going to erect a gate, place no trespassing signs. They used to be there, but those signs were removed with the opening of Luana. And create a committee of members who will advise the board on problems associated with the lava. And we were asked by many groups, so I included this in the list, write a letter to each LCA member and ask their opinion on the future development of the lava covered area inside Leilani. And number 5 is that future boards will create a policy that has elements for protection as well as for opportunities for members to use their properties as they see fit, as long as they follow certain guidelines regarding CCNRs and permitting. So those are the 5 things. And at this point, we have addressed numbers 1, 2, and 4. We have 3 guys who want to build the gate, and all 3 of them have lost a lot of time with this huge rainstorm thing we've had going here the last 2 weeks. So they've had to put off the starting gate and the starting date, not the starting gate. And all 3 of them are in the same ballpark for money. And I'm going to go with the one who can start the gate the first, because we are getting a lot of bad traffic in there. One of our members called to tell me the other day that there were 8 or 9 cars that drove down Luana Street and parked at the end and are using that new road as a parking lot. And then they had a big group of people and they all spread out and went every which direction. So a gate would definitely be needed to discourage that. And Andy ordered the signs. That's number 2. We have all the signs in and ready to put up, and we're going to put them on all of the roads, even the ones that still have barricades on them. And we have Michael looking up posts and stuff like that for us so we can get them up. And we also bought a whole bunch more speed signs. We thought a lot of the speed signs had been taken down. So we got a lot more 25-mile-per-hour speed signs to put up other places. And I would ask, especially associated with the lava area, if anybody out there would like to join in to have good, we were in a very preliminary way discussing how to preserve this area. We would love to have more input. I know everybody's busy and we're still in COVID, but we would really like to have more people weigh in on what they would like to see. And I encourage you to do that. That's the end of that. The other thing that we have done is we wrote the letter to be sent out to everybody in the LCA, and that's 2,000 lots, 2,040 lots, and about 1,900 individual people, and we're asking for their opinion. Now, a lot of these people have no idea what it looks like out here, but both the county and the mayor and the PONC committee, they all think it's real important to have actually contacted everybody about this. So that's what we're going to do. And the committee, PONC committee especially says, we'd like to know what the people who lost their homes and their properties want. You know, they think that their wishes should be isolated and analyzed as a group. So we can do that at the same time. So that's going to be going out this week, that letter asking people to weigh in on what they'd like to see for the future there.
Alice, could you explain why it's important for us to survey the entire Leilani population?
Well, it's mainly because every time I go to a meeting, they say, well, have you asked absolutely everybody?
By meeting, you mean a county meeting?
Yeah, the county meeting and the commissioners that we talk to. There's a lot of commissioners on this committee, and they seem real interested in that. And they said, that'll make a difference to us. And maybe it means they're interested in us, or maybe, maybe not. But it seemed to me to be easy enough to do it as long as we were sending, asking input from everybody. Some of these places are banks, and holding companies and mortgage companies. They won't answer us, but we have to give everybody an opportunity to answer. That's the important thing.
Okay.
Phil, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to leave you out, Phil. Do you have any more input that you'd like to tell us about trees or?
Alice, so sending the letters is a done deal? Did we approve that? How much is that going to cost?
Well, they all cost about the same thing.
It's about $1,600.
Did we approve that? I don't recall voting on that.
Well, it was in the what you call it?
No. Did someone make a motion to spend our money?
Yes,
to do this?
yes. Well, we didn't make a motion to spend the money, but we made in the 5-point motion that I made last month.
Well, again, it was Alice. It comes as no surprise.
I'll just read it to you. Hang on.
Well, let me say before you do that, Alice, I think our job is to maintain and repair roads and facilities to enforce the CC&Rs. I don't think it's any of our business to tell private property owners what to do with their property, or to advocate for politicians to do that. I don't think people should have to go through gates to get to their property. Nobody else does. I think to spend the LCA money on pushing the agenda of a few people is just not proper. If you're going to send letters to all the Leilani residents, what about the people in Lanapuna Gardens who've lost their homes? What about the people in Section 1? Aren't they affected by all of this as well? I don't like this, and I certainly don't approve of spending our money to do this. Thank you.
Philip, can I back up? Number 4 on the motion that we passed last month was writing a letter to each LCA member to ask their opinion. And the situation with the gate, the argument, the feeling on that one was largely due to the extreme liability that LCA is opening itself up to by letting people, or at least in the present situation with no gate, encouraging people to go into a place that has a lot of dangers and is very disturbing to the surrounding people. So
why is that our problem? Is that not a problem for law enforcement? I mean,
because
is that not what they're for?
The reason it's our problem is that it's our task as board members to have a safe community, safe above beautiful even. If there's some way we can make our community more safe, we should do it. And
well, in your opinion, it's more safe.
Okay.
The gate is not going to be locked.
Okay, so Phil, I'd just like to add to this conversation because you said a few people want this, implying that there are only a couple of people or 2 or 3 people who want this, whereas Alice has already done polls showing of the people who have responded to the polls that a plurality of people want this area preserved.
Oh, Robert,
Phil, I'm not finished talking. 5%. Phil, I'm not finished talking. Please listen. So I understand your concern, and and it's a valid concern. I hear you, but let's hear from the Leilani residents, what they want. And so far, what we've heard from them is, in fact, they do want this area to some extent be preserved. Now, I understand you have a different point of view about it, but so far, most the people on the polls we've done, they want it preserved. So it's not just, I think you're misspeaking, you're saying it's a few people.
No, Robert, it's 5% is what I heard.
Okay. Okay. So that's why we're sending out letters to everybody. And
but it's not to everybody.
Excuse me.
It's not to everybody.
We're sending out letters to the entire LCA lot owners.
And ignoring other people who have a stake. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Phil. All right,
If we're sending it out to everyone, we're not ignoring anyone.
okay.
Well, people in Lana Puna Gardens. have
Lana
lost their
Puna
homes.
Gardens are not part of the LCA. Neither is Section 1. Okay, we're sending out to people who own lots in Section 2, period.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Alice, anything else you want to talk about?
I'm through. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Alice, just thank you very much. And obviously that there are people who have different opinions, and that's what we're trying to do, have a conversation. I want to underline the word conversation, so we can talk through these problems and try to get people hear other people's points of view and try to work together. Okay, and that's Alice, I just really want to thank you again for the work you've done. Phil, did you want to talk about the election at all?
Yes, thank you. As we've heard earlier in the meeting, things have been settled. The Tellers Committee is going to consist of Ann Kalber, who's going to direct it, LCA members Cindy Helton and Pete Wilson and Kaunohi Jeremiah are also going to do that. We've had the assistance of Lincoln, so everything is good. If people did not get ballots, they are available online, and I'll make sure I post them on the LCA website. So I would encourage everybody to get out and vote, and I look forward to a productive annual general meeting.
Okay, thank you, Phil. So before I adjourn this meeting, does anyone have a last comment to make? Anne, go ahead. And you have to unmute yourself, Anne.
Yep, got it. Thanks so much. If anyone is having trouble getting mail, please contact the office, either mail in, call Kim, stop by the office. I know the office isn't open, but please get word of your correct mailing address. It's up to the members to make sure that LCA has that meeting, and this, the ballots going out, not getting to certain people. Please, it's your responsibility to get your information correct to LCA office. So thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you. Anyone else before I adjourn this meeting? So thank you all, and we'll resume. This meeting's now adjourned, and we'll resume on March 20th at 1 o'clock on Zoom. Thank you, and have a great night. Thank you all.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
You don't look rushed at all from your rush to get here. You're amazing.
Bye-bye.